Riverside Radio WRVR, the non-commercial FM station of the Riverside Church in the city of New York, presents The Glorious 4th of July, Mississippi, 1964.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom, Lord. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Just a few miles north of Jackson, Mississippi, on the grounds of Tougaloo College, 100 or so young Americans have gathered this hot night of July 4th to sing songs of freedom. These young Americans, many of them from beyond the borders of the Magnolia State, do indeed have their minds set on freedom. Committed they are to the proposition that all men are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so they are here in Mississippi, the citadel of white supremacy, enforced segregation, and violent resistance, to champion those very ideals set forth 188 years ago in the Declaration of Independence. Their presence in Mississippi and their activities in behalf of Negro voter registration and the organizing of freedom schools throughout the state is, of course, anathema to most white Mississippians. They are denounced with bitterness as meddlesome agitators come from outside to stir up trouble in Mississippi and destroy the harmonious relations between the races. A mood of tension and anxious expectancy was unmistakably felt throughout Mississippi this 4th of July. For the most part, the trappings and ceremonies typically associated with the 4th of July were absent. In Jackson, the state capital, for example, stores and offices and most restaurants were closed, and the streets were largely deserted. Downtown in the business district, American flags were flown, but there were no parades, no patriotic ceremonies or observances, no festoons of bunting, no band concerts, no firing of cannon, no fireworks displays. For most Mississippians, the 4th of July was simply a day off from work. On everyone's mind, though, was the new Civil Rights Act of 1964, as yet untested in the state of Mississippi. Here now is a composite sampling of what people thought and felt in Mississippi on this glorious 4th of July, 1964.
I would say it is a very historic 4th of July, particularly after the Civil Rights Law having been put into effect.
It's the best 4th day of July I ever saw in my life, and I enjoy it. You know why I enjoy it? Because God spared me to live, and I'm glad He spared me and other folks to live. And above all, I am glad that we is trying to get equal rights. It's not a matter of going to a restaurant where y'all are and everybody else is. Just give me my equal right, right?
So it's a special day for as American people are concerned. Under the condition that exists, the 4th of July has been just a day, which so many people celebrated, but they didn't stop long enough to think what they were celebrating it for. But now we know what we're celebrating it for the progress for all mankind. Most people is happy with it too, both races.
Well, let's hope that this will truly be the land of the free and the home of the brave, and that this will include Mississippi.
I think that if our founding fathers knew what was happening today and they could turn over in their graves, they'd be flip-flopping, I'll tell you that.
The Negro in Mississippi and throughout this country, as far as I'm concerned, has very little independence to celebrate, because we are still denied the basic things that our country was settled for. We still don't have freedom, and the passage of the Civil Rights Bill, which I was overjoyed, for two reasons. Number one, because it does give us more legal rights to ask for and demand for our equal opportunities and justices. And the second reason, because it was passed and signed on Metcalfe's birthday, which he would have been 39 had he lived. But the 4th of July, as I see it, is the emancipation of the white race of America and not the Negro. I feel that the 2nd of July is the day which Negroes should always remember, because it was the day that we finally got some civil rights laws on the books.
Now, Independence Day, which we celebrate each year on July the 4th, to me, commemorates the greatest single event in the history of our nation, the birth in 1776 of an independent America. You know, the American Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson, who, by the way, if he knew what was going on today, if it was possible for him to know it, he would turn over in his grave. And I think Lincoln would do it too. I'd like to ask you, my friends, what no doubt would have been our status today if our revolutionary patriots of 1776 had not resisted, may I put it that way, had not resisted tyrannical and oppressive laws. What would be our opinion of our grandfathers who had in the 1860s, had they like slaves and like vassals willingly submitted without a fight to unwarranted assumption of federal power?
A 15-year-old Mississippi boy en route to a 4th of July event called Coon on a Log.
We were going to Coon on a Log. You know, Coon on a Log is something up there where they got coons that take and put him out on a log and dogs goes out and get him. The car broke down. Put the inner dogs in it and they give you money on it if your dog wins.
What do you think about 4th of July and this new civil rights bill? You got any ideas about that?
Civil rights bill, they are not passed it. Niggers be trying to take over, I reckon.
But they did pass it. Now
yes, they sure did.
And now what happens?
I reckon they try to take over, I reckon. I don't know. I don't like it myself. They ought to left it like it was. Bet there's gonna be lots of killings over it. Something like that. Trouble.
A motel maintenance man.
I was up north a long time, and that's the only time they celebrate up there in Indiana and Illinois, and that's when they hang the flags out, and they go to shooting the firecrackers, and they really celebrate up there on the 4th day of July. I was up there about 4 or 5 of them. Yeah, they don't do that, but they will when these northern niggers come down here. There's one goddamn thing for sure. When the niggers checks in these rooms, I gotta wait. It'll be so damn hot on them, they can't stay here. They won't have a goddamn thing. They won't even have a telephone. They won't have a damn air conditioning. They won't have no water. There's one damn thing for certain. When the colored checks in these rooms, if I can find a number to he's in, he gonna burn up.
At COFO's Mississippi Summer Project headquarters.
Did we get an arrest in Gulfport yesterday that we requested from the FBI?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I just heard some other information indirectly that a radical white group, perhaps the Ku Klux Klan, is dropping by airplane pamphlets over the Gulfport saying that something to the effect that the black savages are going to turn the Gulfport coast into a Congo on the 4th of July. It sounds like they think there's going to be some kind of violence instigated by the black people.
The 4th of July, that's mean the Day of Independence and the day we got our freedom.
You have any plans for today, special plans?
Oh yes, we was going on a picnic today.
It's just another day with me because I work all the time. I don't celebrate it no how.
Well, the 4th of July is pretty good so far, selling peanuts.
I believe that what this country needs right now, more than integration, segregation, or Johnson, or Goldwater, is the fact at the grassroots level that we need more 4th of July picnics with the Sousa marches, the Star Spangled Banner, and more people getting out and enjoying with the sack races, the egg runnings with a spoon in your mouth, the passing of the, what do you call it, the lifesaver on a toothpick, and good old-fashioned family picnicking and getting together for a stirring patriotic speech on the 4th of July to encourage more patriotism, to inspire their public feelings to be Americans other than Mississippians or South Carolinians or New Yorkers.
Two viewpoints: Mississippi Governor Paul B. Johnson and Jackson attorney Jack Young, one of 3 and only 3 Mississippi lawyers willing to handle civil rights cases.
I think that race relations here would be excellent if these agitators were not in the state. They do not come down here for any good purpose. They come down here under the cloak of remedial education, which is a reflection on the school system of our state and on all of the fine Negro teachers and instructors that we have in Mississippi. I think that they've come down here to provoke trouble, and the reason I feel that way is because practically everything that they do is in public and is designed to arouse the feeling of the local people. I think the Negro is well off, and that he knows he's well off, that he has confidence in the white and Negro leadership of his state, and that he's like the Filipino, he just wants to be left alone.
People are afraid of reprisals. I mean, he's afraid he might lose his job, or some member of his family might be intimidated and that sort of thing. And in a state where jobs, there are only certain jobs available to you anyhow, and those are in the low income bracket as it is, this is a big problem to a man who doesn't have any other means of securing an income. So it's a futile effort. I mean, he feels like maybe, well, I'm not going to get registered, and then in addition to that, I might lose my job, see. And when a man has a family, why, he can't just ignore his family.
The people know how I feel about segregation. And they know how far I will go to help maintain it. And the ones who are critical of you trying to be certain that law and order is enforced is an extremist, fanatical type person. But regardless of how anyone feels, I am dedicated to law and order. And we are going to do our best to enforce law and order in this state, regardless of who likes it or who don't like it.
Well, I think that basically most people in Mississippi are very fine people. I think they are, on a whole, they are law-abiding. But I think that our news media, to a large extent, is responsible for what happens because, for instance, they refer to all of these people who come in and who are in any way connected with civil rights as outside agitators, or the headlines call them mixers and this sort of thing. And that tends to keep people aroused. Not all of them aroused, but those who would be violent, it tends to lend aid and abet them.
I don't anticipate the violent groups taking any action, or these the pushy type of Negro organization taking any immediate action. I feel that they have they've won their legislation, and I'm certainly hoping that they will not try to make their tests too early after the passage of this legislation. I think that the feeling over the country and in big cities or in the South or anywhere else, that they're going to have to move with great caution, or else we could have some very chaotic days.
Well, I think the picture's brighter now than it's ever been as far as I'm concerned. I think anytime the local Chamber of Commerce advises the local people or the much to comply with the law, with the civil rights law, I think that's a new day in Mississippi.
On this 4th of July, the search for the 3 missing civil rights volunteers continued. 3 congressmen from New York and California were in Philadelphia in Neshoba County. The governor spoke at Gulfport. There were fireworks in Vicksburg. At Clinton, Mississippi, the Junior Chamber of Commerce sponsored its annual 4th of July Americanism Barbecue with Dr. Ben Caskey, organizer of more than 100 white citizens' councils, as principal speaker. Dr. Caskey.
The American Declaration of Independence is an assertion of the principles of a form of government in which the individual is recognized. I want to put that over as the source of authority for a sovereign sovereignty power. One of the most sacred and meaningful liberties of the individual American is the right to possess firearms. Now, it was exceedingly precious to our ancestors who were forced to flee to this new country in search of personal freedom. So much so that it ranks second in importance in the American Bill of Rights. It was extremely important to the early pioneers who faced dangers of many kinds in their day-to-day living. And I'm going to tell you something else. Before this thing's over, it may be the right to bear arms, listen, may be immensely significant to patriotic citizens of this generation who believe in an independent America. Let us, you and I, take a deep look at our freedoms as they exist today on this Independence Day, this 4th of July Day, and then silently, may you and I, but determinedly resolve under God that we are going to preserve at all costs, and may I emphasize that word, at all costs, that we're going to preserve and pass on to future generations those basic individual rights for which our forefathers fought and bled and died. Thank you.
Thank you, too. How do you do, sir? Thank you.
Once again, there's still some chicken left. It's still a quarter. Can't go below a quarter. Thank you, Dr. Caskey, letting us prevail on him to make a speech. Thank you, and we'll see you again next year. The Clinton JC 4th of July Americanism Barbecue. Thank you very much.
A 67-year-old Mississippi woman at the Freedom Bookstore in Jackson, distribution center for segregationist literature and extremist right-wing publications of all kinds.
And just what is going to happen, I don't know. But I do know that the freedom is taken from many God-loving, nation-loving Christian people because some folks want to reach certain goals that I know and I believe that our nation knows. When we have lost our form of government, we become slaves. But your average Mississippian has been reared with our colored people. The best friends I have, many, many, many of them are colored people. And they're not the ones that have started the trouble. It's been the outsiders coming in. The outsiders. And of course they can prey on people who are not too well educated. And to say that the South has not been fair when just 200 years ago these people couldn't talk. Who is it has put up the money? There's just a lot that people need to stop and think before they go off on tangents and find people who have given much of their lives, their financial resources and everything else to the betterment of a group of people who were underprivileged. I've done it all my life. I've been taught to do it. Still doing it.
Two Mississippi moderates.
If they integrate a restaurant and I want to eat there, I'll eat there, and I'll enjoy my meal, and I'll enjoy the company of my friends there. I personally, they can't touch me because there isn't any reason to. I'm not going to bother them, and I don't see any point in them bothering me. And if this restaurant serves good food and I enjoy it, I'll go there.
I drink my beer and drink my whiskey and everything else, but I also am a regular attendant of my church. And I believe that you've got to be a God-fearing and a public-spirited citizen to get going and to push this nation on into Americanism, not Southernism, not nationalism or anything else. But you've got to fight for that. But above all else, now I don't believe in integration. I don't like it. But first of all, you've got to be an American. And if it's a law, you've got to comply with it.
On the afternoon of July 4th, a 23-year-old ex-sailor, Otis Woodward, simply walked into the dining room of the Sun and Sands Motel in Jackson and made the first test of the Civil Rights Public Accommodation section of the new Civil Rights Law. No one had known in advance that he intended to make the historic test. He was served without hesitation or incident. That night, the downtown movie house was integrated. On the morning of July 5th, Dr. Claude Hudson of Los Angeles, longtime member of the NAACP Board of Directors, checked into the Heidelberg Hotel in Jackson. Dr. Hudson.
Well, we didn't call it testing the law. We needed hotel accommodation, and we walked into the Heidelberg Hotel and asked to register, and they passed the registration blank to us, and we signed it. And they called a boy and sent us to our room, and they assigned us room 1026, and then when we got through with that, we went to the dining room, 5 of us in the green room, and had a very delightful breakfast, and the cost was reasonable. That got me. I never particularly paid any attention to them staring at us. We seemed to treat us just like they did the rest of the people.
Later that day, at the Sun and Sands, other NAACP board members arrived to register. Who were the gentlemen who just registered? Would you run down their names for me, please, sir?
Robert L. Carter, who is General Counsel in ACP. John Davis, who is our youth leader from East Orange, New Jersey. My name is Chester Lewis from Wichita. Gloucester B. Current, who is Director of Branches of NAACP. And Maurice White, the Assistant Public Relations Director.
And you considered everything was proper and...
It was fine so far as I know. No problems.
You might even say it's been the most hospitable reception ever.
State NAACP Field Secretary for Mississippi, Charles Evers, brother of the slain Medgar W. Evers.
It's a wonderful day for us in Mississippi. It's a wonderful day for Americans everywhere. I only hope that somehow Medgar can realize what has happened here today. And I feel deep down in my heart he does know that his dying was not in vain. And that you, along with thousands and thousands of us all over this country, have made sure that he did not go in vain. It makes my heart feel happy to know that Mississippi, and particularly Jackson, has made a step forward. And I feel that it's now on its way. I just want to say to those sober-minded citizens of Jackson, you have turned the tide, and I'll assure you that we are gratified. We plan to use every available restaurant, hotel, motel, swimming pool, park, and anything else that any other citizen is entitled to. We intend to use it too. We're going to sue any business that doesn't want to comply with the recent Civil Rights Bill. We mean in Mississippi to not let it be another group of bills on paper. These are going to be implemented.
All you Uncle Toms, take that hanky from your head. Forget your fears and shed a tear for the life of shame you led. Oh, won't you tell me now? Oh, well, 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 well.
The Glorious 4th of July, Mississippi 1964, was produced by Riverside Radio WRVR, the non-commercial FM station of the Riverside Church in the city of New York. Reporting from Mississippi, Walter Nixon and Vic Emmert. Now by way of footnote. While in Mississippi recording interview materials for this special program, we encountered, as other newsmen have, manifest hostility in the attitudes and manner of a considerable number of white Mississippians. Others were cordial and cooperative. In Jackson, at the leading downtown hotel, the Robert E. Lee Hotel, we were physically assaulted on the night of July 4th while conducting an interview in the hotel's cafe lounge. Just as we were preparing to leave, a woman seated with her escort at a nearby table asked if we would accord her an opportunity to voice her views. While she was speaking, two men, both white in their mid-20s and well-dressed, attacked us from behind without preface or warning. One struck me a blow with force against the side of the head, knocking me backward out of the chair to the floor. The other man grabbed the portable tape recording equipment, slammed it down twice with full force on the floor, and then stomped on it repeatedly with his feet. No one intervened. The two men then physically pushed and shoved us out of the hotel. Here now is a playback of that interrupted interview and the unprovoked attack.
We didn't integrate. We don't want to integrate. And I'm never going to integrate as long as I'm here in the South. Up north, it's all right because they don't know what they're missing down here. Mississippi ain't green and slimy like everybody thinks. We do wear shoes, we do have cars, we do have paved streets, but we've always been disregarded because we are from the South. Mississippi has always been stepped on and everything else, but it's not right. Everybody has cut Mississippi down, but Mississippi is one of the finest states in the Union. It has a lot of money in Mississippi. And if it wasn't for the cotton fields and all that, there wouldn't be no cotton clothes, you know. But the way I feel, it's like my father, is that what they ought to do is they ought to take the Mississippi Negroes, and take them and they ought to fire every one of them, no matter how long they've been on a farm or anything else, and send them up north and let them see how they are down here. I guess it is our fault because they never have had a chance to learn down here. But the Negroes have the finest schools down here, finer than the white people. It's all gone to the Negroes.
I want to talk to you about the 4th of July.
Okay, let's talk about the 4th of July.
Even though you're opposed now to this new law.
Oh, am I opposed? Are you kidding? Please talk quick. You take.
Hey, buddy.
You take the phone out.
What's the matter? Okay.
No, y'all. Quit picking on it.
Just a second.
No.
Alex, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Jackson's chief of police, Chief Pierce, expressed his regret over the assault and the felonious destruction of expensive recording equipment. The Robert E. Lee Hotel, where this occurred, on Monday morning closed rather than to comply with the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Ohio, Louisiana, Indiana, Mississippi, Illinois.
This program was produced by WRVR-FM New York, the non-commercial station of the Riverside Church, and is distributed in the United States by the Broadcasting Foundation of America.